Even Rocky had a montage. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm bringing you my first ever book inventory. This was interesting. I decided to utilize the app Libib to catalog all of my books. This app can also be used for video games, movies, music, and it's currently being baited for board games. However, I would like to preface this by saying I am in Australia, and I got this app because I was hoping to catalog both my book collection and also my video game, specifically my Switch collection. But because I'm in Australia and the barcode numbers associated with the Australian games is different than what they are currently utilizing in the back doors of this app, it is not easy to catalog the video games here in Australia at this time. However, I did email them because I thought it was an issue that I was having in doing the process wrong. But like I said, it's because they don't have a reliable database of video games from Australia as of yet, though they are looking into that and are hoping that they will be able to improve that. Though in relation to books, obviously all the ISBN numbers, they all worked wonderfully, and I was able to catalog my books using this app. The app is free, up to 5,000 items, and you can use up to 100 collections, where you could kind of separate the sections into different things. So I've separated it into Verity's books, Verity's video games, that kind of thing. I will say, I'll put up here on the screen a screenshot of the app, and though it was handy if I was just using the barcode version to tap a barcode of a book, that worked very well by using that little barcode button, or I could have manually entered items through the app. However, I couldn't search items in the database or use a different type of method to source the data. So I couldn't type in the ISBN if the barcode was compromised, which, as I have quite a lot of ex-library books, the barcode has sometimes been covered up, quite often has been covered up with the library specific barcode. So I did have to do a lot of this manually on the computer by typing in the ISBN number rather than just scanning the barcode. However, if you just have books that you've purchased from a bookshop or a book that you can easily access the barcode, then you won't have to manually do that. But on the computer, which you'll see up on the screen now, I was able to easily search a barcode, or I could, for a few items that were having issues like they didn't have barcodes written in the book, I could type in the title and do a search of different items within the database to find the one I was after. I did actually use Goodreads quite a bit just to make sure I had the correct covers. If it was a book that didn't have an ISBN, I did use it to search that information as well. And as you can see here, this is more so on the computer than in the app. You can also go in and edit quite a lot of the information that is associated to the books. You can also update your own cover picture, so you could take photos of all your books if you wanted to, or you could download a picture of the cover online if the cover picture wasn't always associated with it. I will say one of the issues, because of the fact that they are utilizing alternative databases. They are using quite a lot of different databases to put together all this information. There is no naming convention, so all the titles do come across slightly differently. Sometimes the author's names are written in capital letters, sometimes they're not. Sometimes it says what series it's from at the end of the title, sometimes it doesn't. That's all a little bit higgledy-piggledy. You can also attach tags to it. So I've been going through after the fact and attaching tags onto my fiction versus my non-fiction. That means I would be able to search that specific item within the database. And I have also been adding it to groups. So the groups are where you would add what series it's from, if it's from a series, so then all the books will be lined up. I do want to play with that a little bit more going forward, so I can tag and group my items, and I would like to kind of come up with my own naming convention to ensure that all the titles have got a very similar structure of how it's placed in the system. But that is obviously something that is going to take a lot of time and energy that I currently do not have, especially when you hear how many books I actually have in my collection. So while I was doing this process, and as I wanted to discuss my book collection, my inventory here with you, I decided to film every single cover of each book, which also definitely took a long time. And I did not realize some of the muscles here that now are very, very buff. But let's jump into a bit of montage of all the books I do own. But before we get into that, I would like to highlight these books are in no particular order. So as you probably are already aware, I am living in multiple locations. I do not have all my books on display. Quite a number of them are in boxes. So I literally just grabbed a box or went up to a shelf and filmed these books up against the closest wall in no order at all, which you will probably be very aware of as we go through. Also, I wanted to note that this montage does not include the 11 books. Here are 3 of them, but the 11 books that are currently covered for my advent calendar TBR project, as I'd already pre-wrapped these before I did that. And like I said, because I have quite a few books, I actually have no idea what are in any of these, so I couldn't even really add that to my list. So as I go through the year, I will and unwrap these books to read them, I will add them to my Libib catalogue. So when we discuss the numbers, once we come back from this montage, I will be including those 11 books with the assumption that they are all fiction books. With that, let's just jump straight into the montage. can see, I have quite a lot of books. A mixture of both fiction and non-fiction, and I know some of them are more textbooks, but I figured as they're part of my collection I would include them in this video. So taking into consideration those 11 books I mentioned earlier, I actually have a total of 516 books. That is quite a lot, and to be honest, if there are a few books not in my wrapped books, there are a few that are missing, so there is probably likely a box somewhere else in storage. Let's, fingers crossed, hope there isn't, because I think 516 books is enough for one person. It's probably also noting that so far I have 9 double up books. So that means that 9 of those 516 books are actually doubles of books I already own. Obviously, having my book collection spread out everywhere and mostly in boxes means I do have a tendency to, I guess, reacquire certain books. One of the reasons that that probably happens is because I have a tendency to acquire most of my books from library rejection books or declutter books, decluttered from friends, or books that I find for quite cheap in op shops, or even people purchasing books for me in series and things that I like. That's where I tend to get those double ups coming into my collection. So probably that is something later on that is worth me reviewing. Like I said, my collection is a mix of both non-fiction and fiction titles. I have a total of 162 non-fiction books currently in my collection. That means I have 354 fiction books. And it is very heartbreaking to admit that 328 of those fiction books are unread. So that's something I really want to work on in my reading journey, is focusing on getting through my physical collection rather than my current tendency, which is utilizing the library both physically and audiobook wise, which means a lot of these books that I've really acquired, quite a few of them from library discard piles in the first place on library book sales, they tend to sit unread in a box. In line with that, I think a lot of these library discard books are books that I collected, I acquired purely because the cover interested me, maybe what was written on the back was interesting to me, and really I was only paying, cents to $1. So that was something that meant that I acquired a lot more of them because the financial aspect of it wasn't enough for me to kind of go, do I really want that title? Where I think if I was paying full price for a lot of these books, I would not have purchased them. Therefore, one of the things I would like to more incorporate into my reading journey is along the lines of unhauling books, either once I've read them or even prior to that if the book really has kind of lost my interest. Like I've mentioned in some of my previous videos, I'm not much of a DNFer. I always get this feeling that maybe if I just keep going, the book might get more interesting. So therefore, I tend to hate read a lot of books. So books that I've really lost interest in, I've plateaued on my drive to read, I keep them on my currently reading chart. It can either end in a reading slump where I don't continue reading it, or I start reading alternative books and leave that sitting on my currently reads list, which if you watch my plan to pan video at the end of last year, I'll have that linked in the cards, you'll know that I have a few items on my currently reading list that have been sitting there for quite a long time. They're my currently reading backlog, and I really want to get those books done and finished. So with all that, what I'm actually trying to say is life is short, so why am I wasting precious reading time reading books that do not interest me? And I really need to start DNFing more often, especially if I'm 30 to 50% through a book and I have lost all interest in it. Or I should soft DNF it and come back to it at a later date and see if I have got more interest in it. And if not, then make that decision, that DNF it, final, done, dusted, out of my collection. I say that now, but like I said, I really struggle with DNFing because I almost have this thought that, well, what am I going to miss out on if I don't finish hearing it, or what actually happens next in the story? Regardless of whether I'm enjoying it or not, I want to know what happens at the end. If I am finishing a book and it is only a 3-star or lower, I need to then consider unhauling it and moving it on for someone else to read. Because although Dream Verity would love to have her own personal library, my dreams of life do not mesh with that. I'm interested in the teeny living aspect, and 500 plus books just does not equate to teeny or small living. So though I still want to have a library, I would like it to be more of a curated library with either books I'm currently reading plus my 4 and 5-star reads, rather than this massive collection where 92% of it is unread. And yes, I did actually do the maths, and it is a total of 92.66% of my fiction collection that is currently sitting on my shelves, sitting in boxes, unread. That percentage is something that I definitely want to lower. I guess just like in my eyeshadow projects where I want to up my pan percentage, I really would like to up my read percentage in my physical library. If you've made it this far into my video and would like to let me know you were here, please leave a little percentage mark or a little book stack down in the comments. Otherwise, I'm Verity. This was my January 2025 book inventory. And now to the outro.